What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Philistinic YouTube channel, and in today's video I'm going to be going over my round 8 2022 AFL tips / predictions. Also, obviously, as well as that, I'm going to be going over my round 7 AFL tips and seeing how well I did last round. But before we get into that, I've just discovered something. I've gone onto my audience and watch time, and it currently says here that 89% of you, 89.9% of you guys watching this are not subscribed. But anyways, if you could please leave a like on the video and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Trying to go the channel as big as we can. We've been doing quite well in subs recently, so yeah, please hit the subscribe if you're like my channel and you're one of these 89.9% of people, pretty much 90% of people that aren't subscribed. That would be much appreciated. But without any further ado, let's get stuck into it! So like we do every week on these tipping videos, we're going to go through the previous round, which was round 7 that just happened, which just only finished a couple of days ago. Yeah, I got 5 out of 9 this week. My 7 out of 9 streak has been officially broken, which is a little bit disappointing because I feel like I was on a roll. But anyway, this game here, probably the easiest tip of the round between West Coast and Richmond. Probably definitely the most one-sided game of the round. The Tigers got up by 109 points against the Wet Toast Eagles, which is what they are at the moment. Yeah, West Coast probably the worst side in the comp as it stands right now. They probably deserve to be last considering the performances have probably been worse than the performances North have been dishing up. Richmond far too good, even on Optus Stadium. West Coast in this game by 109 points, which I think is the biggest margin of this season. I think it's 1 point better than Brisbane's 108 over North. But anyway, Tigers far too good for West Coast there. Anyway, next game at GMHBA Stadium between the Cats and the Dockers. The Cats dropped one they probably should have won. I watched this game with glued eyes, and the Dockers, they could seriously be the real deal this year. Going over to Geelong is probably the hardest road trip in footy, as we're all talking about it right now. And the Dockers found a way to get it done. 3 points. Cats probably could have played a lot better, even though Fremantle are a very hard team to score against. But nonetheless, got that tip wrong there. Yeah, I tipped Geelong just because it was at GMHBA Stadium. It was close, but the Dockers, fair play, held on in a tight one by 3 points. Next game at the Adelaide Oval, Adelaide and GWS. Did not watch this game. Bit of a blip in the radar for the Crows. I thought they would dish up a bit better showing than that. You know, I'm not writing the Crows off yet. I think they are still a pretty decent side. And the Giants needed a win, and yeah, it's a good way to get it against Adelaide in Adelaide, which is actually a pretty tough trip, if I'm going to be honest there. But nonetheless, got that tip wrong. Next game at the MCG, it was the D's and the Hawks. Definitely the better of the two matches. Yeah, the D's and the Hawks. Like I said, the D's obviously the best side in the competition, but the Hawks are a scary side, and they took it up to Melbourne, especially in, I think that was that second quarter, and the last quarter, I think they kept Melbourne goalless. So, yeah, they're a scary side, the Hawks. Yeah, very gallant effort from the Hawks, and the D's, though, they just were too strong. That third quarter, I think, was the difference. And yeah, obviously got that tip right there. The D's are probably the most trustworthy side to put your tip on, I think. Next game, Saints, Port Adelaide, probably one of the worst games you'll ever see this year anyway. Saints, yeah, probably could have played a bit better. I know the conditions weren't ideal in Cairns. I watched the replay of that game and the conditions looked horrible. Port Adelaide, though, found a way. And like I say it all the time, the good teams find a way to win. And I think Port, maybe they have recovered from that very, very slow start to the start of the season. And Saints, I don't think it's a bad loss considering the conditions that were there on the night in Cairns. But then again, I think, you know, the kicking last night from both sides was pretty horrible. Next game at Marvel Stadium between the Blues and North Melbourne. Carlton got up by, I think that was 50 points. Yeah, pretty comfortable win. Don't really have much to say about this one. The Blues needed to respond after the Freo loss, and they did. Above them. I think they're going to be that team, the Blues. I think they will make finals. The way they're going, I think they will definitely make finals. The Blues, I'm thinking around 6th, 7th, 8th this season, which is where I had them. I had them in 6th at my ladder predictions. North, on the other hand, yeah, I don't know what's happened to them since last year. They've completely, I don't know, they've lost their little identity they had at the end of last year. And yeah, they're sitting 17th, and the only team that's worse than them is West Coast, and it doesn't really get much worse than that. Next game at the MCG, we got the Pies and the Suns. Pretty interesting game, this one. I didn't watch it. I watched about a quarter. Yeah, pretty evenly matched game. I think the Pies, in the end, were just the more silkier side. Or just too strong, and I think they're a genuine chance to make finals now. Collingwood, they're playing very, very good footy at the moment. I'm just looking here. The Pies are 8th, and they're sitting 4-3, which is, if you told me that at the start of the season, or anyone really at the start of the season, Collingwood would be 4-3, you would have been laughed at, I reckon. But yeah, they're playing some great footy at the moment, Collingwood. Next game between the Dogs and the Bombers. Don't really have much to say about this one though. The Dogs just the better side. Essendon are in a hole. They really need to start switching on if there's any life left in their season. I think they're now 1-6. And it's sitting in 16th. I think if they lose next week, the Bombers, it's probably season over. Yeah, sorry Bombers fans. I know you had high expectations going in this year. Oh, and the last game of the round, we got the Swans and the Lions. And I did tip the Swans, and now I look like an absolute fool. Yeah, Brisbane, I take back what I said. I think Brisbane are now the second best side in the comp. I think Sydney are probably 3rd or 4th. But yeah, they just couldn't keep up with Brisbane after quarter time. It was level at quarter time, I think, and then after that second quarter, Brisbane dominated. Buddy dominated for Sydney, but it just wasn't enough. And yeah, got that tip wrong. So those were my round 7 tips, got 5 out of 9. And yeah, let's move on to the round 8 tips. Alrighty, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, round 8. So it all kick-starts on a Friday night between here at the Adelaide Oval at 7:30 between Port Adelaide and the Western Bulldogs. Yeah, Port Adelaide, they're a tough one this year. Obviously they had that 0-5 start, I think, to the season, and since then they've won back-to-back games. They just knocked off the Saints in Cairns, albeit with pretty poor conditions. And the Bulldogs just knocked off Essendon. Yeah, both these teams. Well, it's a replay from last year's preliminary final. If Port Adelaide want to earn some respect back, they've got to win this game. However, saying that, I think the Dogs will win just because, you know, I think the Dogs at the moment are probably the better side, and I think they're going a lot better overall this season. And I'm going to tip... I've got to tip a team first, don't I? Yeah, that'll help. Dogs... Dogs by 19. Doggies by 19, I reckon. I think it will be a kind of an interesting game. I think Port will put up a fight. I think 2 wins in a row will give them a bit of confidence, but I'm tipping the Dogs in that one to win it by 19 points. Next game at Optus Stadium. Now, I must say this before we get into this game. The 1% of people that have tipped North Melbourne, 2 things. You're brave, and you probably don't know much about AFL, or you haven't watched the last, 4 weeks of AFL, because Fremantle look like one of the best sides in the comp at the moment, and North Melbourne probably look like the second worst. So yeah, this 1%, whoever you are, you're a brave man. You're a brave man. I'm going to tip the Dockers in Perth as well. Yeah. It honestly wouldn't shock me if Freo dropped this, because over the years, Freo have done more bizarre things. But yeah, I think the Dockers, the way they're playing right now is very, very good. And yeah, they're going to be more than a handful for North, especially away. If it was in Bluntstone, I'd almost give them more of a chance. But I'm going to tip North. Tip Freo in this one. I'm going to say by like 30 points or something. Next game at the MCG, the traditional rivalry on Saturday at 1:45. Richmond up against Collingwood. This is a must-watch game. Richmond at the moment playing good footy. At the moment, we absolutely belted West Coast over in Purple, albeit it was West Coast. Let's not forget. And Collingwood did what they had to do against Gold Coast. That was at the G as well. I think Collingwood did roll Richmond last time, which was last year. Even though, Collingwood were the worst side out of these two sides last year, and they still managed to beat Richmond. Oh, wow. I'm going to tip Richmond, though. I'm going to tip Richmond. I'm going to back Richmond. I'm not going to change my tip unless something, injuries or something like that. I'm tipping the Tigers to win this one. It won't be by much. I reckon it'll be a good game. I reckon 7 points. I reckon the Tigers will win this. And, the Tigers, well, this is 8v9, so this is a massive game for the top 8 race. Next game, Saturday, 7th of May, 1:45 at the SCG. We've got the Swans up against the Gold Coast Suns. The Swans, I don't think they were too bad against Brisbane. I think Brisbane were just the better side, ultimately. Again, you'd have to be a brave man to tip Gold Coast. They're not doing terribly, Gold Coast, but I've definitely seen. We've seen better from Gold Coast. I mean, they're 2-5. This is a bit of a familiar sight for Gold Coast fans, if there are any watching this. I'm going to tip Sydney, though. I think Sydney, much classier side. Gold Coast did beat them last year, but that was at Metricon. I think at the SCG, the Swans, I still remain, they're not the second best side in the comp, but I think they're definitely a top 4 side in the comp at the moment. I think they will just dismantle Gold Coast at the SCG in that one. Next up, we've got the Giants and the Cats in Canberra. The Giants get a couple of back-to-back Canberra games, home games anyway. This time up against Geelong, who, last week, the Cats, I don't know, it was a bit of hit and miss last week, the Cats. At stages, it looked like the first quarter looked like they were going to roll Freo, and the third quarter, they looked like they were going to get rolled themselves. The Giants found a bit of form last week against the Crows, although I could see an upset here. The Giants are not trustworthy, though. Not trustworthy at all. I'm going to tip the Cats. I think I'm almost tempted to tip GWS because of, last week I did the exact same thing. Tipped Adelaide. GWS won by about 50 or something. So, I'm tempted to tip GWS, but I'll go with my gut feeling, which is Geelong, just because they're more experienced, and I think they are the stronger side overall. So I'm going to tip the Cats in that one. I think it'll be close though. I think it'll be about 16 points. I think it'll be quite close. Next game at Marvel Stadium on Saturday as well. We've got the Bombers up against Hawthorn. The Bombers, like I said, they're in a hole. They need to do some serious work to have any chance this season at the moment. Whereas Hawthorn are almost the complete opposite. They're almost overachieving this year, the Hawks. That's how well they're going. They took it up to Melbourne last week. They were so close against Sydney. I don't know what happened in that last quarter. But like I said, Hawthorn, very scary side. And I think against a struggling team like Essendon, I think the Hawks should have no problem. If they play the way they did against Melbourne, they shouldn't have any problem really against Essendon. I could see Essendon winning, but it would shock me almost if Essendon won this. Next game at the Gabba, another one-sided game. It's probably the second best side in the AFL at the moment, the Brisbane Lions, against the worst side in the AFL, the West Coast Eagles. I guess I'm calling them the Wet Toast Eagles because, they're basically, I don't know. That's how bad they're playing right now. Yeah. Anyway, Brisbane have to win this, don't they? I mean, if you're a Brisbane fan, it's not even a biased hit at this point. West Coast are just so far off the mark, and I'm pretty sure, spoiler alert, West Coast have Melbourne next week, so they've got the two hardest teams in the comp in the next couple of weeks. I think actually West Coast Melbourne might be at Optus, but this game's at the Gabba. Lions should have absolutely no problem. Wouldn't be surprised if they win by even more than Richmond did against West Coast, because Brisbane are probably even a better side than Richmond. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win this by 120 points, honestly. But yeah, I'm going to tip Brisbane in that one pretty comfortably. Next game at the MCG, I'm actually shocked that 95% have gone Melbourne here against St Kilda. At the MCG, I know the D's are the best side in the comp, and I know they're playing outstanding form right now. But I reckon the Saints are a genuine sniff. They have a good record against Melbourne at the G. I think the last time they lost to Melbourne at the G, I think was 2017-18, somewhere around there, which is actually really, really good. So they do have a good record against Melbourne at the G, the Saints. Although, saying that, I think Melbourne are probably the stronger side. I feel like it's a bit harsh, though, that only 5% have tipped St Kilda. I reckon it's more 80-20, I reckon. Because the Saints at their best are actually pretty scary as well. But saying that, I'm going to tip Melbourne, I think. I think they're just the stronger side. And yeah, I expect them to win, but I expect St Kilda to put up a fight here. If Hawthorn can put up a fight, St Kilda beat Hawthorn by 60 points, they should put up a fight, at least, St Kilda. I expect them to get at least within 30 points, the Saints, at least. But yeah, I'm going to tip the D's in that one. I think they're just the stronger side. And the last game of the round on Sunday at 4:40 at Marvel Stadium. Another very interesting game here. We've got the Blues up against the Crows at Marvel Stadium. The Blues last week did what they had to do against North Melbourne. They're a far superior side over North Melbourne, the Blues, it's fair to say. And the Crows, they struggled last week against a giant side that really, really turned it on. Saying that though, I don't think this is the end for Adelaide. I think they can still pull out a few more upsets in the bag. However, when Carlton get on a roll, their midfield damages teams pretty fiercely. And I think Carlton being a bit more experienced than this young Adelaide side, and probably the better side maybe. You'd say Carlton are better than Adelaide. At Marvel as well, if it was at Adelaide Oval, I'd almost tip Adelaide. But no, I'm going to tip the Blues in this one. I feel like they will be too strong for the Crowies. Not based on form, but also I think Carlton I think their list is probably more talented at the moment than Adelaide. But you never know. Upsets can happen. Look at last week. So yeah, those are my round 8 tips. Just going over again, I've tipped the Dogs over Port by 19. I've tipped Freo, Richmond, Sydney, Geelong, Hawthorn, Brisbane, Melbourne, Carlton, and Adelaide. And before we finish there, I'll show you my comp if we just go down here. So yeah, that's my ladder if you want to have a look at that. So in first we got Shannon Humphreys. I do know him from Cartman's streams. In second we've got Ben P. I'm actually not sure where that is. In third we got Sam H. Also Khan the Catters, I think that says. I'm in fourth at the moment on 39 tips, which isn't bad, I guess, but I want to be doing better. In fifth is AFL Weekly. I do know him. In sixth is obviously Louis. I like your name there, Louis. That's the code if you're wondering to get in. In seventh we've got Victor B on 34 tips. and Lincoln Barton is struggling at the moment on 27 tips. But yeah, that reminds me, go join my tipping comp, link in the description and in the pinned comment. So those are my round 8 tips, and that is my ladder. So there we go, guys. That is my round 8 tips for this upcoming round. Comment down below your tips, your thoughts. How's your team going? How'd your team go on the weekend? How'd you go in the tipping? If you are, in my comp, join my tipping comp. No, I've already said that, but please join it in the description and in the pinned comment. Leave a like, share, subscribe. Like I said, there's still 89.9% of you that aren't subscribed. So if you're new or if you're here before and you enjoy my content, leave a like, share, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Thanks to you all for watching. Appreciate all the support. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Cheers!